Hello, my name is Patricia Tormey and this is my introduction into the flipped classroom. In this short introduction I will cover who instigated the flipped classroom, why they began to use this method, what exactly is the flipped classroom and how does it work. Firstly, who? Well, the term of the flipped classroom began its life as educational vodcasting and was promoted by Jonathan Bergman and Aaron Sams. These science teachers in Colorado in the Woodland Park High School began to flip their classroom to optimize their time with their students. Why did they decide to flip their class? These teachers found that students were missing class either due to adverse weather conditions or because they were attending school sporting events. They then found themselves going over the class material for students who had missed these classes. So what exactly is the flipped classroom? The best way to describe the flipped classroom is to compare it to that of the traditional classroom. In the traditional classroom, the teacher presents the material at the beginning of the class. In this scenario, the teacher is active and the students are mostly passive, either listening or taking notes. The teacher can then be seen as the stage on the stage. The student then works on their own on assignments at home without the expert guidance of the teacher, the one person who knows exactly about the subject. So, to make the change to the flipped classroom, the teacher records their lecture. They host these lectures and videos on YouTube or Moodle or any other video hosting site and makes these recordings available to their students. The students then can access the course material on their home computer or any mobile device. This means that the student can access the material whenever and wherever they want. The effect this has on the classroom is that it changes it from teacher-centered to student-centered. This means that the teacher is more a guide on the side and both the teacher and the student are active. It allows for differential learning where the teacher can see the individual student or a group of students who may be struggling with a particular topic. The teacher then can step into to provide the exact instruction the students need at that particular time. So how does the flipped classroom work? Well, the flipped classroom employs a number of pedagogies which include blended learning, mastery learning and social constructivism. Blended learning combines face-to-face with online multimedia instruction and blends time in the classroom with the independent learning and collaboration in the classroom. Blended learning enhances and increases learning opportunities for students by making material available to them in a variety of formats. Mastery learning allows students time to master one unit of a subject before continuing on to the next. By delivering content before class, the students are at the lower end of Bloom's taxonomy, where they can recall the information and begin to understand it before coming to class. When the students come to class, the teacher can then help them apply that knowledge and assist them to develop critical thinking skills. Allowing students to access lecture videos prior to the class stimulates interaction and develops concepts within the classroom setting through discussions. Constructivism encourages student participation through these discussions and problem solving. Social constructivism involves a process of learning from the more knowledgeable other or the other advanced student, which helps students move to the next stage in the learning process. So who uses the flipped classroom? A prominent user of the flipped classroom method is Salman Khan, who created videos initially as a tool to help his cousins to study math. These have since developed into a website with over 200 million lessons delivered. The lessons have expanded from math to incorporate science and finance, amongst other subjects. Howard Gardner, the theorist of multiple intelligence, hosts his videos on the server in Harvard for his students to view before class, as he valued the class time for interaction with the students rather than lecturing. The students were encouraged to come to class with questions about the videos. Flipping the classroom ensures that there is more face-to-face contact time to engage the student and guide them towards new knowledge. Dr. Eric Mazur, a teacher of applied physics in the Harvard University, states that the teacher should use the valuable and scarce commodity of classroom time to work with your students on their understanding. Mazur places lecture notes online which the students have to read before coming to class. He then challenges them with multiple choice questions on an interactive whiteboard with the use of clickers. When the students have difficulties with the questions, he encourages peer discussion, while he and his teaching assistants circulate amongst the groups to guide their conversation. Katie Gimbar is an 8th grade maths teacher in North Carolina who flips her class. This is a video of her use of the flipped classroom.
I've been teaching math for the last 5 years, and this is why I flipped my classroom. This is what my classroom used to look like. I was teaching to the middle group of the class, the students that could follow along with what we were doing, and we were going through the content, while I had a group of higher level students not challenged, bored with the information, ready to move forward. And I had a struggling group of students that were not receiving enough effective remediation. They didn't have the basic content they needed to be working on the content we were currently covering, or they needed more help in order to be successful. This led to a 90% use of class time being spent on delivery and review of content. 90% of the time I was at the front of the classroom lecturing to a group of students, and I wasn't meeting all of their needs. 10% of class time was actually spent on application, which led to, depending on students, to do the application needed to be successful. They had to go home or outside of class and work on applying the concepts that I was giving out in class. This constant battle of not reaching the needs of all students and feeling the need to differentiate for all of my learners allows teachers to feel overwhelmed and ineffective, because we see the need for differentiation, but there's just not enough time for effective differentiation. This called for a drastic change in how we teach. This is where flipping the classroom comes in. Now the students outside of class preload the content. They get the information they're going to need for class. They can pause, rewind, and rewatch the videos as many times as they need to. They can post questions online to their classmates or to the teacher. And it's a self-paced program where they can be remediated by going back and reviewing former topics, or they can work ahead when they've already mastered a concept and are ready to look forward. They get the content here before class, so that when they come into class, my whole classroom has now shifted, where I'm at the center of the class, working between these differentiated groups, focused on different pieces of application. I can now work between each of these groups that are moving at their own pace. This has created a 90% use of class time spent on application of the content, and 10% of class time is spent on delivery of content, when I can answer questions that have been posted or take any other questions that have come up from applying the content. Now in my classroom, all students are engaged and challenged. I have time to work with each group, give them individualized time and instruction as they need, and I can actually work between each of the groups to provide effective differentiation for all my varied groups of learners. My struggling students, my middle group of learners, and I can now extend and expand on my higher level students' prior knowledge and challenge them in the classroom. To learn more about flipping the classroom, visit the Friday Institute's website.
Clintondale High School in Detroit, Michigan have flipped the whole school, and the failure rates have decreased somewhat. Here's Greg Green, the principal of the school, speaking about the flipped classroom.
How can you let 52% of your students, 1 in every 2 students, failing your English, math, and science class, and even 28% is too high for social studies.
My name is Greg Green, and I am Clintondale High School's principal and curriculum coordinator for grades 6 through 12. When we evaluated our failure rate last year from our freshmen, we found that in English language arts, our freshmen were failing at a 52% rate. And in mathematics, they were failing at a 44% rate, science, a 41% rate, and then social studies at 28% rate. And as a principal, it's just unconscionable to have that going on in your building.
To continue doing the same thing and think you're going to get a different result isn't going to work. So we sat down and we said we got to try something different.
Because we felt like the class time, was probably the most crucial time that we had with students.
We decided to flip it and try spending more time working with the students in class and having them get the lecture and the lessons at home.
This allows us to get more one-on-one time with them. I'm not speaking to a mass group.
By having homework done within class, we quadrupled the time that students and the teachers actually work together in, going over and learning the information.
My name is Mike Wright. I came here when I was in 8th grade. Coming from Detroit Public Schools, it's real different.
Why'd you come from Detroit? Yeah, last year Mike Kwan was a freshman in the class, and he was struggling, and he'd have a problem, and say problem number 1 was difficult for him. He couldn't do it at home, so he would give up. So all of his homework was empty, was blank. Well, now I'm sitting there. I can see his frustration. I can go help him. I can get him past number 1. Now he can do 2, 3, 4, 5. He's got trouble with problem number 6 again. I can help him.
But the biggest surprise is the results. When we did go to the flip model, we had no failures. No one failed. There's a kid now, unfortunately, he doesn't go here anymore because he just was that far behind. He had to go to an alternative high school, but it was the only class he passed here in the high school.
By reversing the instructional model, what we did is we actually seen a dramatic reduction in the percentage of students who are failing. And in ELA, the percentages went from 52% to 19%. In math, we went from 44% to 13%. And in science, we went from 41% to 19%. And in social studies, we went from 28 to actually under 10%. And so what we've seen is a huge reduction in failure by reversing the instructional model, which doesn't cost any money. My name is Greg Green. I'm a principal. I'm a husband. I'm a father. And I'm using rec and tablets for my high school.
So, the software that I use for flipping the classroom is called Camtasia. This software is downloadable as a free trial for 30 days. You just need to fill in your email address and download it. It's available for Windows and for Mac. Here are some suggestions for preparation activities, which you might think of before you make your video. So to put questions within the video, prepare an outline of the assignment, you could say to the students. You could get them to write an entry in a blog, complete a quiz on Moodle, post a question on the forum, or read a chapter of a book. And then in the classroom activities, they can answer questions arising from the video, they can debate the subject, they can prepare presentations, they can work on their assignments with your assistants, and they could form small groups and work on different aspects of a topic. If you have any other activities that you'd like included or would like to discuss during the class, please let me know. You can email me at this address if you have any further questions. Thank you for watching. Bye.